There's been nothing that has reassured the powers that be in the Democratic Party that he's fit for office. First up, though, is the crisis related to Joe Biden's cognitive decline. He remains in office. He continues to run for the presidency. He's still the candidate for the Democrats, the putative candidate. Now, as I said last week, I had heard that he was going to resign this past Monday, and obviously that hasn't taken place. But the writing is on the wall about his campaign ending. I don't know when it's going to happen now. I think it's not a matter of if it's going to happen, it's just a matter of when. And again, I don't see how he's able to pull back from his campaign if indeed that is the end result and remain as president. And I think that's probably one of the delays. He had the NATO summit up in Washington, D.C. this week. The city was shut down in large measure as all these leaders visited. And it was an opportunity again for Biden to try to rehabilitate himself, which I think is ridiculous. The idea that after this debate, anyone's going to be convinced he's able to muddle that because he's able to muddle through a press conference or two, he's fit to be president or a candidate from the political perspective is just ridiculous. And sure enough, he failed, and everything he's doing is reconfirming and reaffirming, at least for Democrats, it looks like, the necessity that he leave the campaign from the Patriot perspective, from Judicial Watch's perspective, the necessity that he, frankly, leave the Oval Office and resign. And this little segment here is a remarkable illustration, or a dramatic illustration, or a useful illustration, or how about Exhibit A in Biden's failing cognitive state from his press conference after the summit just the other day.
And now I want to hand it over to the president of Ukraine, who has as much courage as he has determination. Ladies and gentlemen, President Putin. President Putin. He's going to beat President Putin. President Zelensky. I'm so focused on beating Putin, we got to worry about it. Anyway, Mr. President.
I'm better.
You are a hell of a lot better.
So, I mean, as you can see there, and then later he said, "Oh, I met President Putin." Come on, Zelensky was standing right next to him. And then later in the press conference, he's asked about Vice President Harris, and he immediately says, "Well, when I appointed Vice President Trump." So there's been nothing that has reassured the powers that be in the Democratic Party that he's fit for office. Now, George Clooney, I guess, now agrees with me. You may recall this video that I played a few weeks ago at a fundraiser that depicted him at a fundraiser, essentially being dragged off the stage by Obama because it looked like Biden didn't know where he was or what he was doing. And let's just run that video again.
Well, here we are, another Biden moment. He freezes. Obama, they're at a fundraiser in Los Angeles, by the way. Obama grabs his arm, escorts him off the stage, pushes him off the stage, really, right? The further disturbing evidence of Biden's cognitive decline raises questions about his fitness for office, let alone running for election. I'm worried, he's not fit to serve another day. Watch it again. There you go. Freezing. Obama grabs his arm. What must our friends think? What must our enemies think at America's weakened state as a result of Biden's cognitive issues? Share your thoughts below.
So George Clooney, the Democrat activist, big fundraiser, was at that fundraising event a few weeks ago, and now 3 weeks later, he publishes something in the New York Times as many people noted, obviously at the behest of Barack Obama. I think it's fair to analyze it that way, that Biden isn't fit to run. So he's being abandoned by all sorts. Now, the crisis that's resulted isn't just a political one, and it's a significant one, because if we have a political crisis in terms of who should be the president, I mean, usually that sort of issue is settled, who the candidates are going to be. We're just a few months away from the election. But we've got the crisis of his being in the Oval Office and not competent to make decisions as president of the United States. I think that's the crisis. I think that's why there needs to be the 25th Amendment option. We've had information that, as we've talked about previously, Hunter Biden is, according to reports, the gatekeeper, is the chief of staff for Biden. I mean, who's making the decisions in the White House? The corrupted Hunter Biden? Jill Biden? No one voted for any of those people. And his doctor, supposedly, who is a buddy of his family's, who was involved in the Biden business operations, hasn't given him the necessary neurological exams that would give a hint, at least, about his cognition. And he has been meeting with the Parkinson's specialist, we now find out. So there's a real crisis of confidence in the president of the United States, and that's a dangerous situation to be in. And so to me, and I understand the unlikely political possibility of this happening, but that's not my job in many ways. I'm kind of, at Judicial Watch, we try to point out what should be done under law in terms of what is good policy to protect the Constitution. Vice President Harris and the majority of the cabinet, as the 25th Amendment requires, are able to remove Biden from the presidency. And they can do that by notifying Congress that there's a disability. And again, if Biden objects, he can object within 4 days, and then it's up to a 2/3 majority vote in both houses of Congress to find him in a disability and place Vice President Harris in his stead as acting president of the United States. Now, Biden may accede to the finding and not fight it, and it may not require a congressional vote. But that's what should happen. I mean, because right now it's just a political fight about who should be the candidate at the head of the Democratic ticket. It's interesting, it's important, and it's not interesting and important because of just partisan interest. It's just important because of, as I said, this is how we select the next president. And there's discord in how that's being done right now. But there's a constitutional issue, there's a governance issue related to his obvious cognitive issue. And the interesting thing is, I don't think I've mentioned this before. I think I tweeted it out. So if Vice President Harris becomes president because Biden resigns, which is a possibility, an increasing one. I don't know if you saw the news today, but Democratic donors are now withholding $90 million, according to the New York Times. Fox News is saying there's going to be a flood of Democrats who are going to be calling them on him to at least leave the campaign in the next few days. So the deluge could be coming. I don't know. And of course, they continue to carpet bomb the White House with negative stories about Biden. But if Harris becomes president because Biden resigns, she gets to pick the vice president. But that vice presidential choice has to be approved by a majority in both houses in Congress. So the House has to approve it, the Senate has to approve it. And so what's the consequence of that constitutional provision? It means that House Republicans who control the Congress, at least the House, can insist upon a Republican being vice president. I half jokingly say this is how President Trump could become vice president to President Harris. So put that in your pipe and smoke it as to how this might play out. It's kind of interesting to kind of go through that analysis. Now, the only thing in many ways that has I wouldn't say it's the only thing, but a significant benefit to keep Biden at least in office another 6 days, because to me it's a day by day thing, is the radical left has decided that you can't remove Biden for whatever reason. For their political perspective, they think having him as a puppet evidently is better than having someone who is able to say no or has their own brain that they can exercise in terms of rational judgment. And we saw this the other day with AOC, the infamous Marxist Communist congresswoman from New York, made a statement, and I played it on Instagram. Here it is.
Has spoken to the president over the weekend. I have spoken with him extensively. He made clear then, and he has made clear since, that he is in this race. The matter is closed. He had reiterated that this morning. He has reiterated that to the public. Joe Biden is our nominee. He is not leaving this race. He is in this race, and I support him. Now, what I think is critically important right now is that we focus on what it takes to win in November, because he is running against Donald Trump, who is a man with 34 felony convictions that has committed 34 felony crimes, and not a single Republican has asked for Donald Trump to not be the nominee. I'm here to win on this democracy. I'm here to win in November.
And so, I mean, you can see the politics is now, it's Hunter and the extremists in the Democratic Party want to keep Biden in place. Everyone else wants him to leave in the Democratic establishment. Republicans probably are, they probably run hot and cold on it. They probably prefer to run against Biden because he's so compromised. On the other hand, there are many Americans who both are Republican and Democrat who are concerned about his competency and that he can't be president, let alone a candidate. So that's where we are. So how it's going to play out? I thought he was, I heard he was going to be gone by last week or earlier this week. We'll see what happens next. But as I said, I'm guessing, it's a guess. It's not a matter of when, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when Biden, either or both, steps down as candidate for president and actually steps down as president.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and like our video down below.